So our group is Kyle and Antonio, and our project is Coastal Freight Resilience. So hurricanes can cause significant economic and physical impacts to ports and landside freight connections. This issue is increasingly relevant as climate change projections indicate that the frequency of severe hurricanes is expected to increase. This is something that we are already seeing, as this year's Atlantic hurricane season was the most active on record. Therefore, our project seeks to model how a seaport system of systems is impacted by a hurricane disruption. We will model a port facility based on the port of Port Arthur, Texas, and determine where different types of failure occur within the SOS and what some potential mitigation measures may be that can minimize the hurricane disruptions to ports. Within our Seaport SOS, we are considering 4 systems: maritime freight, port terminal operations, and landside connections of trucking and railroad network. A seaport meets the definition of an SOS as shown in the table to the right, where 4 of the 5 Myers criteria are met outright. This image shows how the different systems and components of a seaport SOS are interrelated. The waterside system represents maritime components such as ships, navigable waterways, and dockside berths. Port terminal facilities include assets such as cranes, cargo moving components like forklifts, and dock storage space. Finally, landside connections include 2 systems: railroad and freight highway trucking. The hurricane disruptor affects the status quo through hazards such as seabed silting, high winds, and flooding, which impact various components throughout the port system of systems. In a port environment, there are many stakeholders at play, as shown from the figure on the right. For this project, external stakeholders like ship, train, and truck owners and operators, and internal stakeholders like port authorities and managers will be accounted for. Community and legislative stakeholders do play important roles in ports, but as our project focuses on a single port and the time span immediately after a hurricane impact, these stakeholders are not included in the scope of our analysis. We decided to model the SOS at the alpha level, which is the most granular and refers to individual components. The alpha level was selected as a hurricane impacts port components at the alpha level. Individual cranes, trains, trucks, and roads may be damaged by wind or flood waters. These impacts are then felt at higher levels and even at a regional or national scale. The table at the right details specific alpha level components that may be modeled for each system.
These are the interdependencies for our system of systems. We decided to focus on the loading and unloading operations of the port terminal. That is how cargo gets into the terminal through vessel traffic to then be unloaded from the vessels, stored, and then loaded again in trucks or trains for delivery. We acknowledge the presence of dependencies caused by the seasonality of the marine industry and its effect on the availability of the trucking and railroad system. But our assumption is that within our system, this has a small effect when compared to our disruption. There are also out-of-scope systems that don't take part in our model because the resources coming from such systems are considered to be elastic or don't change while disrupted. Our disruption is a severe hurricane. The main idea is to look at vessel tracking data during a recent storm event, for example, Hurricane Harvey, and capture the impact it had in port usage. Under this same hurricane event, we also plan to diminish the ideal functional states of components inside a port terminal like cranes. This insight can provide suggestions for improvements in the port operation.
For example, here you can see the vessel tracking data at particular times in 2017 when Harvey hit the Gulf of Mexico.
As a modeling approach, we plan to do an agent-based model with vessels, trucks, and trains as agents. Our model starts with the vessel arrival, and from that point on, there is going to be a transfer of goods phase affected by the presence of a hurricane. The state chart on the right is from a similar model that we came across in the AnyLogic Cloud library relating to cargo shipping and the impact of storms. This model shows how a storm may impact vessel speed and service in several ports. The ships and ports are modeled as agents, while the storm is a discrete event. Now, this model differs in scope from what ours will look like, as we are focusing on only a single port and multiple infrastructure systems. However, it displays how discrete event and agent space simulations can be combined to create maritime freight models. As far as the time, we limited our initial scope, and part of this involves changing locations to Port Arthur. So it took some time to seek relevant data for this port. Still, we shouldn't have a problem with the upcoming deadlines. And these are our references. Thank you.